Hey everybody, Martin Chuck here on behalf of the Divot Board, and this tip is all about shot shaping and understanding the geometry of your swing. So let's get into it. You know, the beautiful thing about the Divot Board is it sits there, we aim it at a target. If you want to hit balls inside, you can. You don't even need to hit golf balls to get better with the Divot Board. All we really need to understand is the circular reference of our swing goes back up and in, down, out, and forward, and when you can touch that the middle of that yellow dot and let that path get created in the sequence, time after time, you're getting really, really good, and with some effort you can do that. Now, hitting shots on the Divot Board, you can create some pretty cool understanding of shot shaping. If I have a shot where I have the divot that appears to go straight-ish like that, people say, well, that would be perfect. And I'd say, no, that's a little too excessive. That's going to make the golf ball go into a very, very hard draw bias. And you go, well, why would that be, Martin? Well, because hopefully the club has made contact with that golf ball before the rest of this happens. And if you get a divot that's too straight, that means that this club is coming down, contacted the golf ball, and traveled a little bit too inside out, producing what I would call an overdraw or a hook. Conversely, you might get this shape. And this is what a lot of people that get started with the Divot Board, they get a shape where maybe they hit a solid shot, but they start to see too much of an exit to the left. And then from there, you can obviously guess what that is. That's your over-the-top delivery, where the club had to come from someplace outside the center line of this board, down onto the ball, and exit somewhere before the end of the board. Now, I'm not saying divots should go to the end of the board. They don't for me. Sometimes they, with a wedge, when I'm standing more vertical, they may. The longer the club, the farther away from it I am, but the divots might exit before the end of the board. But keep in mind, this is a circular incline game. Let me hit a 6-iron for you and explain what you're seeing here. And we'll look at it. We'll use the launch monitor here as an example. So 6-iron, I should hit this about 180 yards. And let's see what happens here. And we'll take a look and study this divot and talk to you about the numbers, the club path numbers here in a second. Okay, so we had an in-to-out path 2.5 degrees. Not a bad shot, mild mishit. But you'll notice the divot's just got a sliver of leftward bias to it. That's exactly what I'm looking for. And the reason it was a mild mishit is that my divot touched fractionally after the yellow spot the ball was sitting on. So that was mildly pro-side thin, meaning that my divot was a fraction too far forward. I get that all the time with mini tour players, college players that come to see me that are struggling. Their divots tend to get a little too far forward, just like that one. That shot carried, let's take a quick look. The ball speed was decent, but it carried 171. It didn't fly 180. So if I was trying to carry it over a bunker, trying to carry it over a canal, that would be a problem. My divot was a little too far forward. Now, it was the draw I was looking for. I had the right path. I just didn't have the right low point. Let's hit another shot. Get organized here, good hands on there. Get set. Decent strike. Sort of like the last one, just a fraction. My divot's a fraction too far forward. So super easy with the Divot Board. Practicing, trying to get that low point just a little bit closer to the South Pole. And again, let's take a look. So that was better. That carried 181. The path was 2 degrees inside out, 1.9. And you'll notice there's a fraction of leftward bias there. Now, if I make the divot go too far inside out, out to the right, the ball's going to curve too much because the ball's always going to start where the face is aiming and then curve away from the club's path. So you see the bias on that shaped divot. Let's get excessive. Let's hit a little fade here. Let's make the ball go and do something a little different and see what the Divot Board says. I'm going to put the ball a little bit more forward in my stance. Let's hit a little shot. And I hit a very crispy fade. Why was it crispy? It's easy to see because my club landed on that yellow dot, and then you can see the path of the club traveling through the sequence on the Divot Board was obviously more biased to the left. What did we get? We got a nice fade. The distance was 165 yards, not too shabby. When I'm hitting a fade, I always take a little bit more club when I want to curve the golf ball into a fade bias. Now let's take a look at a draw, or a hook rather, something with a bit more excessive curve than a little draw. What that would look like. Put a ball up here, get it centered. And then I'm going to move the golf ball back a little bit in my stance. That's going to help me hit the golf ball with a little bit more inside out path. And there's a nice draw ball. It's curving just a little bit past the center line here. So that was a 5.6 degree delivery inside out. And that divot appears pretty straight on the divot board. That's too much inside out path for those of you trying to hit it straight. That ball's going to want to curve quite a bit to the left. But that's great if you have a tree to navigate, you're trying to shape it. And best of all, you can do all of that on your divot board. When you want to hit perfect shots, here's what we do. We're looking for divots that have a mild leftward bias, not much. When you want to hit a big draw, we're looking for divots that go pretty straight for a good piece of the board. After the low point, the yellow dot fades, we're looking for exit stage left for the right-handed golfer, and you're going to hit a big fade. So really simple to work on your shot shaping and most of all your low point control with your divot board. Martin Chuck signing off.